could reach President Trump's desk before the end of the month. Joining me now to discuss this and much more is the incoming White House Communications Director, Anthony Scaramucci. First of all, Anthony, congratulations on the new job.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for that, Jay.
So you come to the White House at a time when President Trump has historically low approval ratings. He has signed into law 0 major pieces of legislation. Healthcare is on life support. Multiple investigations are underway. I guess the big question is President Trump facing a communications problem, or is it a substance problem?
Did you leave anything out? I mean, you were doing pretty well there.
I gave you a short version.
Okay, listen. There's obviously a communications problem because there's a lot of things that we've done as it relates to executive orders, bills that have been signed, economic progress. I don't want to cite all the economic data, but the economy is super strong. Business optimism is way up. And over the next 6 months, we're going to have phenomenal achievements in the president. I still think we're going to get the health care situation done. One of my closest friends is the Secretary of Treasury, very confident on tax reform. If the president gets those 2 pillars done, which I predict he will, over the next 6 months, you and I hopefully will sit down around Christmas time and be having a different conversation about the presidency, the communication coming out of the White House, and our achievements. And so these things, they go up and down, Jake, as you know. The president's an experienced business person. He's a very effective politician. And I just think we need to deliver the messaging a little bit differently than we've been doing it in the past. And my prediction is that this stuff is going to start to come to fruition quite quickly. Well,
as you know, one of the problems that Sean Spicer and others in the White House have faced is President Trump undermining his own message. You said on Friday that the nation needs to see more of the authentic Trump. But just this week, President Trump set up an interview with the New York Times in which he attacked the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, the Special Counsel, the former FBI Director, the acting FBI Director. He then went on a tweet storm Saturday that additionally distracted from his agenda. I guess another question is it more authenticity that President Trump needs, or is it more restraint?
No, listen, I don't want to be a career guidance counselor for those people that he's talking about, but let me give some advice to those people on your show. That's the president. The president likes speaking from the heart. He likes telling you what he likes and he dislikes. He's the type of coach that I worked very well with in high school football. It's okay with me if the president doesn't like certain things that I'm doing. We're all on the same team. I would prefer the direct and immediate feedback as opposed to anything else. What I don't like about Washington, if we say one syllable or one sentence, this guy said something bad about me, then all of a sudden they have to be my mortal enemy. I don't think that's how it works in American business. I can sit across the table from somebody that worked with me in my company that I founded and say, here are 5 things that I don't like about what you're doing, and we have to fix it. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going to have a meeting with the communications staff and say, hey, I don't like these leaks. And so we're going to stop the leaks. And if we don't stop the leaks, I'm going to stop you. It's just really that simple. And so for me, let me just finish, Jake. So for me, I would tell people that that's the president. He's 71 years old. We're not going to change him. By the way, last time I checked, he won the presidency quite handily. He's going to win it again in 2020. He's our guy. And so learn how to work with and operate with him.
Congressional leaders have reached an agreement on sanctions to punish Russia for its election meddling and aggression towards its neighbors. Is President Trump going to sign the Russian sanctions bill?
We got to ask President Trump that. You know, it's my 2nd or 3rd day on the job. My guess is that he's going to make that decision shortly. But, you know, there's a lot of questions out there, Jake. I mean, you know, and this is another thing I don't like about the process. This man, our president, he has phenomenal instincts. A lot of the stuff that people have said in the mainstream media that was supposedly true turned out that it wasn't true. I think there was 3 or 4 weeks ago, there were 17 intelligence agencies that were saying something. Then we realized that there was only 4 intelligence agencies. And I'm not saying 4 intelligence agencies is insignificant. I'm just saying there's a lot of disinformation out there. You know, somebody said to me yesterday, I won't tell you who, that if the Russians actually hacked this situation and spilled out those emails, you would have never seen it. You would have never had any evidence of them, meaning that they're super confident in their deception skills and hacking. My point is, all of the information isn't on the table yet. But here's what I know about the president.
Wait, Anthony.
Let me finish.
Well, you're making a lot of assertions here. I don't know who this anonymous person is that said that if the Russians had actually done it, we wouldn't have been able to detect it. But it is it is the unanimous.
How about it was the president, Jake?
Okay, it's the consensus of the intelligence community.
He called me from Air Force One, and he basically said to me, "Hey, you know, this is maybe they did it, maybe they didn't do it, and I'm gonna maintain for you." Hold on a second.
But this is exactly the issue here. We have experts, the U.S. intelligence agencies, unanimous, both Obama appointees and Trump appointees, the director of national intelligence, the head of the National Security Agency, the head of the FBI. I mean, all of these intelligence experts saying Russia hacked the election. They tried to interfere in the election. No votes were changed, but there was this disinformation and misinformation campaign. President Trump is contradicting it, and you're siding with President Trump.
Well, I didn't say that I was siding with President Trump. He hasn't made the decision yet to sign that bill one way or the other. And so when he makes that decision, I will 100% side with him because I'm his communications director and I'm his advocate on a show like this. Last time I checked, the way the founding fathers put the Constitution together, they made one person the commander-in-chief. It happens to be President Donald J. Trump. He'll make that decision when he makes it, and then I'll come back on the show and I'll explain it to you, and I'll explain to you why he made the decision that way. But what I'm saying to you, and you may not want to agree with me, and we can litigate this, there's a lot of disinformation out there, Jake. And so one of the things I'm going to try to do is speak very transparently to you and the American people, get the president's message out there. I have found in my life experience with President Trump, when he's out there himself and he's being his fresh, authentic self, it's very appealing to the people of the United States. And we don't need to closet him up or coach him on certain things. What we need to do is allow him to be himself, so that we can get these policies out there that are going to be very good for the American people.
But this is exactly the point, because here you have a bill, legislation that was passed 98-2 in the U.S. Senate. The House is about to pass it. It will probably also be an overwhelming vote to sanction Russia. And President Trump told you that he still doesn't believe that Russia was trying to interfere in the election, even though the overwhelming body of the U.S. Senate, which is controlled by Republicans, and his own intelligence experts are telling him the opposite. You're saying you're going to side with the president. Don't you owe a duty to the truth?
Well, what about the conversation are you missing, Jake? There are checks and balances in the system for a reason, okay? The president will make that decision when he makes a decision. You're telling me that something is true, that in fact could in fact be true. I don't have the information in front of me. Once I've cleared my security clearances and I've looked at the stuff, if I think it's true, behind closed doors, I'll turn to the president very directly and say, "Sir, I think this stuff is true," but I don't have it in front of me right now. Here's what I know about the president. You may not like it. He's got phenomenal instincts. You may not like it. He's got great judgment on people. You may not like it, but he's a phenomenal politician. He started 2 short years ago, and he's already 6 months into his presidency. How many people can do that, Jake? Be an American, successful business person and television personality, hit a button on June 16th, 2015, and race his way to the presidency, clearing out 18 people. You know a lot of people that can do that? I don't know a lot of people that can do that.
It was there's no question. It was a phenomenal victory. It was a huge surprise. It shocked the system. He proved all the pundits wrong. All of that's true, and it was true as of November 8th. Right. My question right now is about the fact that a geopolitical foe of the United States, Russia, interfered in the U.S. election, according to every intelligence expert, both under the Obama administration and under the Trump administration. The one person in the government who says it's not true is President Trump.
Again, one of the reasons why he is upset about it is that the mainstream media position on this, that they interfered in the election, it actually, in his mind, what are you guys suggesting? You're going to delegitimize his victory?
No.
Is that going to make his victory illegitimate?
No.
Is that the point of it? Well, you know what? He legitimately won the presidency.
Absolutely.
Right? Do we both agree on that?
He legitimately won the president.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So at the end of the day, let him make the decision. And as I said to you, once I've got a security clearance and I meet with those people myself, if I think it's true, I'm going to turn to the president very honestly. We have a great relationship. Say, "Sir, I think this is true.
Well, that's good that you'll do that, Anthony. But the point is kind of like
it doesn't right now on the show.
But it's almost irrelevant whether you think it's true and what President Trump says, because it's the unanimous consensus of the intelligence community that this happened, and it is a threat to the United States because Russia is going to try to do it again. That is also the consensus.
I got all that, but let me tell you something. The person that's going to be super tough on Russia is President Donald J. Trump. If he believes that
But
we're
he doesn't.
in
But he doesn't. That's the problem. That's the problem.
You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? Let him run the presidency the way he wants to run the presidency.
He is.
He's representing the American people. The people voted him in, and so he'll make the judgment. He'll make the decision when the time is right. What I don't like about the whole direction of this stuff in the mainstream media and the whole narrative is that you're saying that this thing is 100% true. If in fact he makes a decision that it's 100% true, he's going to be super tough on Russia. But let him do it at his own time and pace. He's not hurting anybody by doing it at his own time and pace, Jake. He's not hurting anybody.
I think that the issue is that the intelligence, I didn't say it was 100% true. I said it's the consensus of the intelligence community that it is true. And the issue is that President Trump, as you raised the subject, is so worried, it seems, based on things that you've said and he's said, that people are trying to delegitimize his presidency based on what the intelligence community has said is a fact. He's so focused on that he's not focused on protecting the United States from another hack.
He's actually really not that focused on it. He just happens to not like it. He's super focused on his agenda. Okay, he's super focused on getting the health care reform passed. He's super focused on working on tax reform, the two main pillars of what we're going to do this year. He's super focused on cleaning out all the unnecessary regulation in the United States. He's super focused on manufacturing jobs, 50,000 new manufacturing jobs, and getting people back to work in the United States. That's the stuff he's super focused on.
But he's not tweeting about those things. He's tweeting about Russia and Hillary Clinton.
Because he doesn't feel that he's being effectively defended in the mainstream media with the nonsensical narratives that are out there. And we're going to change that for him. We're going to defend him very, very aggressively when there's nonsensical stuff being said about him, and he'll probably dial back some of those tweets. That's the way it works.
President Trump asserted this weekend in a tweet that he has the complete power to pardon. This is what he wrote, quote, "While all agree the U.S. president has the complete power to pardon, why think of that when only crime so far is leaks against U.S., fake news?" Anthony, who's the president thinking about pardoning?
Well, he doesn't. You just read the tweet again. You want to go over the tweet one more time? Because I'm a pretty good proofreader. He's basically saying he doesn't have to pardon anybody.
That's what he's saying. So far, he said. I'll read the tweet again. Let's read it again. I'll read it again.
Let's put the tweet back up there.
While all agree, while all agree, the U.S. president has the complete power to pardon. Why think of that when only crime so far, which is also an interesting phrase, only crime so far, is leaks against us? Fake news. So he's talking about pardoning. So who's he thinking of pardoning?
Jake, let's cut through it all. Okay, you and I right here. Let's cut through it all. You're basically saying that tweet is suggesting that the president is going to pardon himself and every one of his family members.
I asked you.
What are you suggesting?
I'm saying
he's not going to do that.
Anthony, I am suggesting one thing. The president tweeted about pardons, and I'm asking you, who's he thinking about pardoning? That's all I'm suggesting. So why raise it?
The president's thinking about pardoning nobody because it has been coming up a lot. There's an undercurrent of nonsensical stuff.
Because he has asked advisors about it.
No, come on, Jake. He's not allowed that. This is the problem with the whole system. He's the president of the United States. If I turn to one of my staff members at Skybridge, I ask them a question, they run out to the news media and tell everything that I'm thinking about. Is that fair to the president?
If you turn to one of your partners at Skybridge and say, hey, do you have $100,000 for bail money in case I need it? Yes. Then people are going to say, why is he talking about bail money? I mean, so the question...
That's ridiculous. Jake, that's that's a super ridiculous hypothetical, and I appreciate you're on the fly trying to think of them. But the truth of the matter is that the president's not going to have to pardon anybody because the Russian thing is a nonsensical thing. I was there early on in the campaign. I didn't have any interactivity with Russians. I didn't see anybody have any interactivity with Russians. It is a complete bogus and nonsensical thing. And this is the stuff that happens in Washington I honestly don't like. It's Scandals Incorporated.
But we know...
You guys have to manufacture these scandals to take the president off of his agenda. We're going to put the president right back on his agenda.
Anthony,
agenda,
there is an
and we're going to
FBI
present him the way
investigation.
he needs to be presented to the American people.
There is an FBI investigation. There is a Senate Intelligence Committee investigation. Republicans control the Senate. There is a House Intelligence Committee investigation. Republicans control the House. None of that is manufactured.
Have they found any, Jake, have they found any evidence that the president or anybody in the campaign has colluded with the Russians, Jake?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you know what? A lot of people have said that. You know, like you're saying with 100% certainty that they have affected the election or they turned over the emails. There's a lot of people that are saying with 100% certainty that there was not one person in the Trump campaign that colluded with the Russians. Paul Manafort's going to testify this week.
Yeah.
My very close friend Jared Kushner is going to testify tomorrow. I predict that will be the last time Jared Kushner talks about the Russians. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. You said that there was.
He's a very
you just
honest
said a couple
guy,
minutes
Jake.
ago, you said I have no reason to think Jared's not honest.
Yeah, he's very honest. So he'll be done testifying. There's nothing to the story, and we'll be moving on.
You said just a few minutes ago that nobody in the campaign met with anybody.
That I
any
saw,
Russians,
sir. That I saw.
Okay.
I don't know.
But we know.
I didn't attend every single meeting, but I
right, and you didn't attend the one.
I was very early in the campaign.
You didn't. Did you know about the meeting that Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort had with a number of Russians, including that woman, Natalia Veselnitskaya?
I didn't know about the meeting, but what I don't like about the way the thing was handled from a communications and strategy perspective, I think Donald Trump Jr. got bad advice. They told him to put out a small statement. Donald Trump Jr. is a very honest, very high integrity person. I've known him for a long time. I have an enormous amount of respect for him. You know, on other shows, there were guys on Wall Street people said were criminals or bad guys, and everyone in the cabal said that they were. I went out there, Jake, and said that they weren't, and I was proven right. And I'm telling you, Donald J. Trump Jr. is a great guy. He didn't do anything wrong. I just think the mistake was in the way it was communicated. We started with one person, and now we have an auditorium of Russians that he was speaking to, or whatever the hell it was, and it's ridiculous. Okay,
well,
it was
Anthony,
let me finish, Jake. It was a non-event meeting, and he's a political neophyte in June of 2016. Someone from the Clinton organization would have probably put an Arkansas lawyer in that meeting. But if you're trying to suggest and tell me that people on the other side wouldn't have taken a meeting like that, that's ridiculous.
I don't know.
Jake.
It's hypothetical, but I can tell you there are a lot of Republicans, and I have asked if you, like Donald Trump Jr., were told that a Russian government attorney wants to meet with you to provide incriminating evidence about your political opponent directly coming from the Russian government to help you and hurt your opponent, would you take that meeting? I have asked Republican after Republican, and every single one of them says absolutely no. So when you say Donald Trump Jr. didn't do anything wrong, when you say he didn't do anything wrong, a lot of people would call what he did wrong.
Jake, I got to stop you, okay? You're talking to Republican experienced political people, politicians, and political operatives, okay?
I'm talking to people who know that the Russians are a geopolitical foe of the United States, and you don't take dirt from their foreign government intelligence service on your political opponent.
I stand by the president's tweet, which your production people will find, that a lot of people would have taken that meeting. Donald J. Trump Jr. loves his father. He was an unbelievable campaigner. He was one of the reasons. You can ask David Urban, who's one of your friends. He's one of the reasons why we won the state of Pennsylvania. This guy, my friend Donald J. Trump Jr. and I, we traveled all over the state of Pennsylvania. It's the first time the Republicans won it in 32 years. We should be talking about that, and we should be talking about the president's agenda. The kid took a nothing meeting. I think Reince Priebus called it a nothing burger.
Would you take that meeting?
Since that's been overused. Would I have taken that meeting? I'm not sure. How's that? I'm gonna answer it honestly and tell you that I'm not sure. Since I went to Harvard Law School, I probably would have asked a few people, and somebody probably would have said to me, you know, get a cutout to go take the meeting and see if there's any legitimacy to it. Once they realized there was no legitimacy to it, people were walking out or they were on their iPhones. It was a non-event, Jake. We want to make that into a 2-week, a 4-week news cycle. That's fine, but it was a non-event, and it had no impact on the campaign.
The only reason I brought it up is because you said nobody from the campaign met with anybody from Russia. Let me ask you this question about the pardon, and then we'll move on. Does the White House believe?
Time out a second. Let me restate that. I said no. I didn't see anybody do that, and nobody in my knowledge for the last year.
Now, my point is, just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. You didn't see that one, and that one happened.
I agree with that, but that was a ridiculous nothing meeting.
Okay. Does the White House believe that the president has the power to pardon himself?
I don't know. I don't think we haven't even really looked into that. I don't know. I've talked to Jay Sekulow about that because he's a scholar, and you know, I I took constitutional law from Larry Tribe, and if Professor Tribe's listening, I know he doesn't like the president, but I did get an A- in your course. I'm not sure if he has the right to power himself or not, but it doesn't matter anyway, because that's another one of those stupid hypotheticals. He's not going to have to pardon himself because he's done absolutely nothing wrong. So we don't even have to worry about it. Let's let the next president answer that question for you. I don't think we even need to be discussing it.
My colleague Andrew Kaczynski noted that back in January 2016, you wrote a rather scathing op-ed for FoxBusiness.com, clearly directed at Donald Trump, saying, among many other things, quote, unbridled demagoguery has driven the GOP to an inflection point from which there is no turning back, unquote. A lot of people, Anthony, will read that op-ed. They'll read the tweets that you spent the weekend deleting that were pro-gun control, pro-action on climate change, and they'll think, wow, this guy's willing to suppress everything he believes in order to get close to power.
Totally
what is your
not
answer?
True.
What is your answer to that?
That's a ridiculous Washington sort of narrative, right? That is, number one, it's totally not true. Number two, all I'm doing by deleting the tweets is sending people a message. Here's what I hate about, I hate a lot of things about Washington, but we only have a 1-hour show. But let me tell you one of the things I really hate about Washington. We have this political purity test on policy. And so if I'm for something and then I'm against something, then all of a sudden I'm a hypocrite. Yet some of the greatest leaders known to mankind, Winston Churchill started out as a liberal and then he became a conservative. Ronald Reagan started out as a Democrat under FDR, and then he became a conservative. And so some of the smartest minds and some of the smartest political leaders have changed and evolved and adapted their opinions.
Yeah, but you evolved from thinking Donald Trump was a demagogue to thinking he wasn't a demagogue.
I didn't say that Donald Trump was a demagogue. Where does it say in that article that Donald Trump is a demagogue?
You were referring to demagoguery.
The whole article. I love you. Let me tell you something about demagoguery that I don't like. Okay. Demagoguery, okay, creates a lot of nonsense like this. Okay, so we're going to dial back all of that stuff, and we're going to focus on the agenda.
People should read the op-ed.
Read the op-ed.
And you're very clearly referring to Donald Trump because you refer to him. You refer to this person who's going to win the primaries, who's a populist, who experienced.
Jake, you're doing a really good job on this, and so you're trying to nail me. You're going to play the gotcha thing with me right now. But it's fine, Jake. I don't care. You know who doesn't care? The president doesn't care. When I was first of all, I tried to back him early. He tweeted about that yesterday. He called me from Air Force One to remind me about that. He said he wasn't running at that time. I told him I had to back somebody, and then he's like, "What are you, like a horse race player?" I said, "Look, I'm involved in the political establishment. I'm going to back somebody." I chose Scott Walker. I actually met Scott Walker through Reince Priebus and Paul Ryan.
But this is back in January 2016 when Trump was in the race. This is right before the New Hampshire primary and the Iowa caucus.
I was supporting Scott Walker at the time. I'm a very competitive person. I have no problem being combative, okay? When Mr. Trump, then the candidate, the president, went after the hedge fund industry, that's when I hit back on him on Maria Bartiromo's show. We were laughing about it yesterday. If you guys want to bring up the fact that I was supporting another person in politics and then switch to the eventual Republican nominee, and now I'm working for the Republican nominee, and that makes me a hypocrite or dishonest.
I didn't call you a name.
Whatever it is, whatever you're trying to suggest by bringing this story up, I actually do not care. I love the president. I've gotten to know him unbelievably well over the last 18 months. He's a phenomenal fighter for the American people. I grew up in a middle-class family where we had a tight budget, and I have seen people come up to the president that are now struggling. And I'll say something to you on national TV that's embarrassing to me. I should have seen the economic desperation in the neighborhoods like the one I grew up in. I did not see it. Mr. Trump, then the candidate, saw it. He now has the opportunity in the mantle of the presidency to change it, and I'm going to be there with him trying to change it every step of the way. If I said some things about him when I was working for another candidate, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, I apologize for that. Can we move on off of that? I know you and I have moved on off of that. Jake hasn't moved on off of that, obviously, and that's okay, Jake. I don't care. But I'm going to be working for you, and I'm going to serve the American people, and we're going to get your agenda out into the heartland where it belongs, and we're going to turn this thing into a movement, a bigger movement than we have already.
I love how you're talking to one specific viewer right now, the most important audience that there is.
I like talking to him, but you know who else I'm talking to? The people I grew up with. And they get me, and they get him.
I grew up in a very similar neighborhood in Philadelphia.
He's going to win again. He's going to win again, Jake. He's going to win again. I'll bring a box of Kleenex over here to CNN.
We don't need
Kleenex. 2020. He's going to win again, Jake. We're going to get
last
this agenda prosecuted. He's going to win again.
Last question for you, Anthony, and you've been a good sport. You've been here all this morning. There are reports this weekend that President Trump loved your performance on Friday. I haven't checked my Twitter since we've been talking, but maybe he's talking about how much you're killing it right now. Are the cameras going to come back to the briefing? Will we see you more at that podium?
Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay, so Sarah Huckabee is the press secretary. If you're asking me for my personal opinion, and maybe the president be upset with me for giving my personal, we should put the cameras on. It's no problem. I don't think we need to have the cameras off. But if the president doesn't want the cameras on, guess what? We're not going to have the cameras on. It's going to really be up to him. But I think we should put the cameras on. I think Sarah does a great job. She's an incredibly warm person. She's incredibly authentic. And what I told Sarah on Friday, you get the big office. I'll take the small communications office. You deserve the big office because you're taking the hits from the press. And bring the press into the office. Let's soften up our relationship with the press. They're tough on us, but let's be tough on them. I have no problem with that. And my job, as I see it, Jake, is that these people work with me, and I'm there to serve them. If you think about the American military, the leaders eat last. If you think about the American military, the leader's job is to serve the people that are working alongside of them. And so for Sarah Huckabee, I want to do everything I can to make her better at that podium. I think she's phenomenal there now. But like every athlete that's training for the Olympics, every day we got to make ourselves incrementally better. The only thing I asked Sarah, if you're watching, I love the hair and makeup person that we had on Friday. So I'd like to continue to use the hair and makeup person.
All right, Anthony, you can always swing by CNN. We have hair and makeup here if you ever need it.
Yeah, you got a lot on today, and you look very tan, Jake. You look tan and refreshed.
Anthony Scaramucci, thanks so much for being here. We
nice
really
to
appreciate it.
Thanks
Welcome
for
to
having
Washington. We have lots to talk about. The incoming White House Communications Director, Anthony Scaramucci, they're saying that the president told him just yesterday that if the Russians actually had hacked and released emails during the election, we would have never seen it. Senator Al Franken is here to respond to everything you just heard next.